This is TWiT.
It's time for our own rocket man, Rod Pyle, the author of First on the Moon, now in its 5th printing. Wow, congratulations. The best book about the Apollo 11 moon landing. Editor-in-chief of Ad Astra magazine at space.nss.org. Publishers Weekly says, he's my moon man. Here he is, Rod Pyle, ladies and gentlemen, via Ethernet from somewhere outside our solar system. So Captain Kirk is going up.
How about that? And you know, there are all kinds of jokes that come to mind, but let's be kind. I mean, the guy's earned it.
90 years old. He'll be the oldest man ever to leave the Earth.
Yeah, and probably for some time. And he can afford it, thank goodness. But,
well, can he, or is the documentary, because it's going to be a documentary, I have a feeling.
Of course.
It's like $20 million, isn't it, to go up in Jeff Bezos' New Shepard?
Yeah, but think of all the residuals.
That's what's going on, I think. Maybe he's been
he didn't get them from the original
saving
series,
his Star Wars pennies. But
every
Star
reboot.
Trek. Yeah.
Star Trek.
Star Trek was on for 2 years. It wasn't, I don't think, a big moneymaker, but...
I think 3 seasons, wasn't it?
3 seasons? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but, I mean, all the movies, all the conferences, all the fandom.
And TMZ says he should wear his Star Trek uniform. And I hope he does. With the little bell bottoms.
They're going to have to let it out a little bit, but I should talk.
He could bring his phaser. It'd be great.
You know, no matter how fast you go, can you outfly that acting from the 1960s?
Look, it's a spacecraft.
And I had a friend that worked with him on a voiceover session once, and he said, "What was that all about?" And he said, pauses get people to pay attention to you. Right. And I thought, well, okay.
That's right.
It's a bit much, but... So, hey, I got a vote early and vote often for SpaceX story.
Okay. What's going on?
Well, they're under FAA review. It's interesting. It's largely an environmental impact study in a sense, but the FAA is handling it for their Starship operations out of Boca Chica. So there's concerns about the amount of noise, visual pollution, air pollution, blah, blah, blah for people. And then there's also concerns, which are somewhat legitimate for fish and other wildlife, particularly birds in that area, as they increase their operations. Now, routine tests, let's say they do a test every couple of months. That's kind of what Boca Chica signed up for when they let those guys move in there. But if the full Starship stack of Starship and then the heavy booster itself ended up having, a near-ground malfunction, as in a kaboom, then that is kind of a big deal. So the FAA is looking at it, which is legit. But to our point, this is the public comment period. So I put a link up at the top of my website, pylebooks.com. And if you're motivated, you can go in and file a public comment with the FAA. And my preference would be that comment be, hey, let these guys do their thing. So this isn't commenting on flight operations in infinite. This is just commenting on the next couple of years of testing. So I think we need to give them at least that. And then when they start flying all the time routinely, they probably ought to move out to Florida. But that remains to be seen.
Hey, Boca Chica, it's in the middle of nowhere, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
If you've been to that part of Texas, you now know what nowhere looks like.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on. If it blows up, what?
Well, I mean, there is a town nearby, and
all right.
They got to make sure. I mean, this thing's got the energy of a small nuclear device, you do want to make sure that it's safe. But if it's a matter of convenience or, how many white-tailed mud swabblers are going to be scorched, then that's another conversation. And I'm not an anti-environmentalist, but things that human activities we do impact wildlife, and it's a balance that we have to figure out over time. So, I'm not going to tell people what to say, but if they want to get in on the act, they can go to my website or the FAA website and file comment, I think up through October 14th.
I like the picture the FAA released.
Isn't that great?
Asking for public comment. It's the big blue marble of the Earth floating in space, and the text says, "Hello out there. We want to hear from you."
It's unusually jocular for the FAA. Isn't it?
No kidding. Anyway, so you can leave a comment. Certainly, I'm in favor of SpaceX continuing their amazing work. I don't want to blow up Boca Chica on the other hand. So, I don't know. Isn't this the same problem at Cape Canaveral?
It is, although at Canaveral and Kennedy, you have the advantage of when you fly out over the water, you're going out over the Atlantic Ocean, so anything that goes wrong happens over the Atlantic Ocean, whereas Boca Chica, you're still at some point going to fly over land again. So ultimately...
Do they fly over Houston? Do they fly over Dallas? I mean, no, that would be another issue entirely. I can understand.
They fly over the Gulf.
Oh,
you got Florida on the other side of that.
It's the southern tip of the Gulf.
But Florida, when you fly from Florida, you go out over the Atlantic. Right. I mean, there's a risk of flying anywhere, right?
Yeah. There's also an environmental impact, although SpaceX uses a pretty safe fuel, don't they? It's not environmentally too dangerous.
It's methane. Yeah, it's not like
methane. I thought they were using something.
It's methane liquid oxygen, but that's not bad. I mean, it's a climate change.
It's a greenhouse
issue,
gas,
but
for
in
sure.
small batches.
Yeah.
But compared to what they call hypergolic fuels, which is what the Russians use a lot and we used to, which are chemicals that react with a big angry kaboom without an ignition source. They just hate each other and explode. Those things are really toxic.
Okay.
Chinese upper stages use those too. But yeah, compared to those, the SpaceX stuff is no big deal.
I was watching Apple TV's Foundation. And one of the things that featured very prominently at the beginning, both in the novel and in Apple TV, is a space elevator. And I had to explain to Lisa, my wife, why a space elevator? Because that's a much better way of getting out of the Earth's gravity well.
It's a much better theoretical way.
Yeah, nobody's built one. And it would have to be, 90 miles high. It's a pretty big elevator.
Yeah. Well, and the materials are really the issue. And there's a couple of organizations that have been founded to address this, Space Elevator Consortium and one or two others. And we run articles in the magazine from them every now and then. And it's, there are no technological showstoppers as far as we know. It's getting that magic material, whatever, carbon fiber bucky tubes or whatever the hell they're going to make the cable out of, to be able to go out that far and be strong enough to carry cargo up and down. And then also, if the thing for some reason parts, you don't want it falling down and hurting people.
That,
so
by the way, turns out to be a little bit of the problem in the TV show. So,
oh, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a space elevator. It could wrap its way around the world. If you're not careful.
Long enough,
yeah, you got to be careful.
But for everything I've read, there's a reasonable expectation this could happen in the next 10 to 30 years. There are going to be some people that yell at me for saying that because they want to say 5 or 10 years. But I would guess at least 20 to 25. Because back in the 70s, if somebody had said to me, yeah, we won't be looking at going back to the moon until 2025 I would have said,
yeah, right.
Nonsense. Well, I probably would have said something else, but
Piffle.
Something along those terms. Yeah,
Folderol.
But, things move slower than we like sometimes.
Yeah, it takes time. Actually, Out of Sync in our chat room saying a space elevator would have to take you into geosynchronous orbit, which means it'd have to be 22,000 miles high. That's big. That's big.
It is interesting. They have various plans for them that would carry people, that would carry cargo, and essentially let it go at the end of the space elevator and sling it towards Mars and other targets.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of different models for this. How it will ultimately end up working, I think, probably depends more on the materials engineering than anything else, at least in the short term.
And it's held up by centripetal force?
Yeah. Centrifugal force.
Because it's spinning around and
swings around, and it's basically like attaching a fishing weight to the end of a piece of string and whirling around your head.
What could possibly go wrong? Rod Pyle.
Well, but it's not filled with a small nuclear weapon worth of explosives every time it launches. So you've got that to look forward to.
Space.nss.org if you want to subscribe to @Astra. He's the editor-in-chief over there. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you.